So if you'll join me very quickly here under the desk, not a place that I typically conduct business, by the way, just an FYI. Gross. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another video, and thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope each and every one of you is having a fantastic day. You are joining me for day number 2 of the Zwift Academy workout series as I take on the sprint profile workout. So I'm going to get on and do the workout, and I'm going to share with you kind of my thoughts and impressions, go through how the intervals work, how the workout is designed, and what objectives it is meant to reach, and how it might fit into your plan once I'm done and can give you my closing thoughts. But before we get started, I want to do a bit of a correction from a video I did a few days ago about the new trainer desk that I received. Something in the installation that I missed, and I wanted to show you guys that real quick, and then we'll get on with the video. So if you'll join me very quickly here under the desk, not a place that I typically conduct business, by the way, just an FYI. Gross. I want to talk about a bit of an error I made in the assembly and my thoughts regarding the assembly with respect to placing this platform to the top of the legs. So I did mention that you have to take these telescoping legs and lift them up at least one stop in order to get this platform here to mount properly. That is still in fact the case, but what I failed to realize is that when this platform shipped with the bolts pre-installed, that these bolts were actually halfway run down, that were creating a little bit too much friction for this platform to seat fully for the installation process. So as I kind of stumbled my way through this, I had mounted this just slightly crooked, which I had not noticed until I had taken these legs, lowered them completely, and when I was stowing away, I just happened to catch these two collars here where the platform mates with the legs. These were just a little bit off level. I could see some silver in here, so they weren't sitting flush. So clearly that was not the way that this was particularly designed, so I had to correct that. I just had assumed the lack of a nesting hole here for this bolt had caused me to place this platform on just a little bit crooked. So I picked up both legs, and I went and I loosened both bolts, assuming that I would just level this out, and then suddenly the platform fell about 3/4 of an inch, and these buttons that I had originally thought were slightly depressed into the top of the platform ended up not being recessed buttons, but they actually stick up by about 1/8 of an inch, and that is the actual design, and lo and behold, these now seat flush. It also alleviates my concern with being able to lift up this tray with bracing the base of the unit. You no longer have to actually place your foot on the base. It still is a little bit tough to lift. I would say it alleviates it by about 75%. It's something that when you're on the bike and seated back, it might still be a little bit difficult as you have to apply even pressure on both buttons as well as with your lifting of the tray. But now you're actually able to do it without bracing the bottom of the desk, which just makes me all the more pleased with the unit. But I did make an error in my haste to put this together. It had not occurred to me that this bolt, while it was pre-installed, wouldn't be pre-installed too much so that it inhibited quick installation, if that made sense. So when I make a mistake, I want to correct it. I did put a pinned comment in the show notes or the comments below the video for my review of this desk, but for those people who have already seen it, I just wanted to let you know about my error. So now that I've firmly established the fact that I'm human and capable of making stupid mistakes, of which I make plenty, by the way, I'm going to get my ass on the bike and get right into this workout. I'm going to go through the structure of the workout afterwards so I can give you the feedback on the intervals more in context. Sometimes just looking at numbers and how they're structured don't make much sense until you look at the workout as a whole. So I will close up the video after the workout with how the workout is broken down, my thoughts, what type of energy systems you'll count on using, some fueling advice, and so on and so forth. So let's get right to it. workout number 2 of the Zwift Academy Road workout series in the books. That was Sprint Profile. It was a pretty good workout. I certainly enjoyed it. If you haven't seen my last video, that was workout number 1. I go through the same process, except I break down workout number 1. But if you're new to Zwift or Zwift Academy and or you didn't see that video, I recommend you watch that one first. I'll link it up here somewhere. I spend the first several minutes of the video talking about how the Zwift Academy program works as a whole, some tips or tricks on how to get through it, how you're going to graduate, some of the rules of how you navigate that program. So it might have some utility for you. So if you want to check that one out, hit the link. But in this video, I'm going to go through the same process I did in the last one, talk about how the intervals are broken down, give you some more specifics in context of the whole workout. Maybe you can glean some physical preparation, nutritional preparation, or mental preparation for how to get through this workout. So to start, as I mentioned, this is called Sprint Profile. However, this is not a standing all-out finale type of sprint workout. These are all seated sprints. So they are going to follow a similar format to something like a wind-up. If you're familiar with the wind-up, it's where you go from a low cadence or a dead stop and you wind your legs up as fast and as hard as you possibly can. Now, these aren't quite a full wind-up, as you are starting at a 90 RPM range and trying to spin your legs up pretty much as fast and as high a power as you possibly can. But it is intended to facilitate that same type of strain on the fast twitch muscle fibers, and it's going to simulate what you might find in a road race or a group ride where you might be sitting in and all of a sudden you have to do a short sprint. What it's not going to simulate is some of the accumulated fatigue you might get later in a road race or a group ride where you may be at threshold and having to sprint out of threshold or your sweet spot. So this isn't going to be a very high load workout. You'll notice that the kilojoules or the calories burned in this workout are not going to be particularly high. The average power, normalized power, those are not going to be high either. This is designed to help activate those fast twitch muscle fibers and work them much like you would go do a workout in a gym, but it's going to be a lot easier to recover from the day of and the following days so that you can continue to work through your plan. This is probably one of the easier workouts to recover from. This is something that can be introduced into your week or your plan without as much strain on the body. It's not that it does nothing. Do not underestimate this workout. You are definitely activating those fast twitch muscle fibers in your legs, but because you do get full recovery between all the intervals and you're adequately able to clear the lactate from your legs, the intervals are short. This will not put as much strain on your body. If you are looking for more load or a little bit more stimulus to your general fitness, I might recommend either starting with or ending with some sort of extended endurance type of ride. Perhaps you're going to do an hour at zone 2 before or after this ride. You could also jump into a group ride or a race if you are feeling up to it. Depending on how fit you are and how used to doing these type of high power anaerobic sprint level sets, you may not feel like doing anything after this workout. It depends on where your fitness and skill level is at this point, but you need to make that evaluation for yourself. You can kind of fit this one in anywhere, but this is a good workout. If you're going to do 2 of these Zwift Academy workouts in a week, this is one of those lower load workouts that you can definitely fit in a little bit closer to the others. If you look further on down the workouts, they start to build on this. This is kind of a primer for what is to come. So you won't get as much recovery in future workouts. You may be pre-fatiguing your muscles. You may start with an anaerobic interval and then have to settle into threshold for a sustained effort. So this is just to get the muscles kind of primed and ready for what you're about to do later in the program. So don't dismiss this workout at hand as being too easy or not challenging enough. This is really just part of a bigger picture plan. So let me go through the intervals here. I'm going to read them off my phone here because I don't have them committed to memory because that would be real weird. But I'm going to just go through these real quick and kind of give you my overall thoughts. So you're going to start again with a 9-minute ascending warm-up. You're going to start at about 50% FTP and work your way probably somewhere into your low zone 3, maybe 60 to 65% of your FTP over that 9 minutes. You're going to get a 2-minute, recovery or steady state effort at that 50% of FTP, and then you're going to go into a priming set to round out the warm-up, and that is a 3-minute ascending effort around your threshold. So you're going to do 1 minute at 95% of your threshold power, 1 minute at 100% of your threshold power, and 1 minute at 105% of your threshold power. This should be sustainable, but this is going to start waking up the legs and preparing them for the work to come, especially if you haven't done anything before you start this workout. This is not something you want to do cold. So this long kind of first 15 minutes of the workout is going to facilitate getting those muscles ready to work. Then you're going to go into 7 minutes of sustained at that 50% of FTP. So there's a lot of kind of low level power here, just kind of keeping the legs loose, keeping them ready. After that 7 minutes, you're going to hit that first sprint. So that's going to be 10-second seated sprint. The on-screen instructions are very good at telling you kind of your position, what you should be in. So if you don't remember that, that's okay. They do a pretty good job with the on-screen instructions. And this is going to be in free ride mode. So if you use erg mode will turn off here. I want to warn you that you want to be in a good sprint gear. You may have to toy with this a little bit. I was a little bit wary of my gearing on that first interval when I started to spin up my legs in the beginning. The resistance wasn't kicking in right away, so I started grabbing gears, then the resistance kicked in, and then I was over geared on that first one, and my cadence dropped down very low. So you might have to play with a good gearing, figure out something that's right for you that'll get you the proper leg spin and the power that you are looking for. The other thing I might recommend is the 30 seconds or so prior to one of these intervals, you can just go ahead and turn erg mode off and just adjust your gearing and just be ready to maybe start in the small ring and then drop into that big ring and just be ready to spin up. You just don't want to be dropping a ton of gears or trying to grab a ton of gears. You only have 10 seconds to get up to your sprint level power and wind up, and you don't want to be screwing around with gearing. So that's my recommendation there. I did screw up the first interval. I had a bunch of power, but again, my cadence was off. I was able to adjust and figure out the right gear for the remainder of the interval. So as soon as you grab that right gear and you find it, you can leave it there for the remainder of the intervals. Erg mode will kick back in, and you will go to 3 minutes at that 50% of FTP for your recovery. You will do another 10 seconds on, same type of sprint, 3 minutes off for that 50% of FTP, one more 10 seconds on, and then 3 minutes off for recovery. Then you are going to do a 30-second valley into about 35% of your FTP. So this is supposed to kind of exacerbate that wind up. So you're going to start at an even lower power. So at that 35% and 90 RPM, you're going to do that for 30 seconds, and then you're going to do yet another 10-second seated sprint as quickly as you can. You're going to dip back down into that 30 seconds at that 35% of FTP for a really brief recovery, and then you're going to go back up to the 50% of FTP to continue to spin out the legs. And that spin out is going to last 5 minutes. Now you're going to get a 5-minute extended recovery. You're going to dip down for 30 seconds again, and you're going to do another one of these 10-second sprints. 30 seconds again. This time it's going to be at 30% of FTP, so even lower than last time, and then you're going to get a 5-minute rest. Then you're going to do this one more time, but this time this is going to be the long one. So you're going to go into 30 seconds of that 30% of FTP. Then you're going to a 20-second sustained sprint. So your power is going to be a little bit lower than the first several sprints that you did that were 10 minutes. This is going to be your last one, so you can leave it all on the table for this one. 20 seconds of that sustained high level of power. You're going to drop down for 30 seconds at that 30% of FTP, and then you're going to go into your 7-minute cool down. So that's going to start you at about, I believe, 60% of your FTP, and then you're just going to gradually drop down to about 30%. So that's just a good opportunity to spin out the legs. The total duration of the workout is 51 minutes, so this isn't even a full hour. It's 51 minutes long. It's really short. It's one of those workouts that you can really fit in if you're crunched for time. It is effective. It's not going to leave you completely drained and exhausted. You're going to feel it in your legs, but you're not going to be completely destroyed from head to toe. A couple of things to note. Number one, in terms of fueling, you don't have to come in here very highly fueled, but a good idea might be to have a fast burning carbohydrate source. So maybe starting the workout with something like a gel or some blocks, something that will give you a quick little surge of sugar so that you can really maximize on those sprints. Number two, the power that you're going to get in these sprints is not going to really track well with the road for many people. Very often the ability to leverage the bike against your power output is very important on the road, and many people, myself included, see a much lower number on Zwift or on the indoor trainer for their sprint level and high level power than they do on the real road. Don't really attach any ego to that situation. Just use that as your baseline for indoors. And now that you get your assessment from a workout like this one, now you know how to track your future workouts against your baseline. So if your baseline is 700 watts for that sustained 10-second effort, now you know that 4 weeks from now, if you are averaging 750 watts, that you've seen an improvement. And those improvements will translate to the real road, but the power numbers may not be the same. So just be aware of that. And the last thing is use this workout to really practice the fundamentals. Because it's not a high load workout, because of all of the recovery that is built into this workout and the brevity of these intervals, this is a perfect opportunity to really dial in those fundamentals. Whether it be body position, making sure that you're low in that aerodynamic position, or that leg speed. Maybe you're limited at 110 RPM. Try to get it up to 120 RPM. Try to make sure you're not bouncing in the saddle. Do the basics brilliantly and work on those things while you're indoors, so when you take your bike back outside, those fundamentals will translate. You don't really have much else to worry about. They're 10 seconds at a time, and then you get to recover and relax. So really pay attention and focus on that 10 seconds at a time and get the most you can out of this workout instead of worrying about not getting enough TSS to build on your fitness for this week. Focus on what this workout can do in a functional way to make you a better, stronger cyclist. But that's it. That's my input from workout number 2. That one's in the books. I will see you guys again for workout number 3. If you have a chance, please go down there and hit that thumbs up button. It helps the channel out quite a bit. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with a friend if you think that it's of use to them. And as always, thank you so much for watching and making it to the end of the video, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.